Welcome back to Sunday Night in America. 246 years ago, we declared our intentions to what I am sure was a skeptical world, and we are still around. No longer a nascent democracy, but the greatest experiment in self-governance the world has ever known. Co-host of Fox and Friends and host of One Nation, Brian Kilmeade, joins us now for a quick history lesson. First of all, Brian, thank you. I know you're one of the hardest working guys in all the business, so thank you for your time. When you reflect on these past 246 years, what stands out to you?
A lot. I mean, number one, I was lucky enough for 20 years I studied George Washington's Secret Six, Aspiring to Save the American Revolution. And then I thought, not many people know about this story. Let's bring it forward, because people just focus on the founding fathers, but it's the so-called average everyday Americans that made this country great and took us off the respirator 2 or 3 times. I do this series called What Makes America Great. I'm up to 46 episodes with 5 more coming out. All these separate situations where America has just risen above the rest and accomplished something, I mean, everybody wanted to see not happen. That's survive. People did not want to see this democracy survive, because you're in the king business or absolute monarch business. The democracy thing really doesn't work for your business plan. So they wanted to see this fail, and we almost did. Think about this. July 2nd, we write the Declaration of Independence. July 4th, the states say, sounds good to me. Then we start fighting, and we have success in Boston, Bunker Hill, and then we meet again in Manhattan, in Brooklyn, and we are probably 16 hours away from being totally annihilated until, in the middle of the night, Washington makes the toughest decision ever. He decides the fighter has to retreat. The problem is the sun's coming up. He's got to get thousands out. Little by little, civilian boats pull up, and he puts them in. He's the last to leave. The problem is the sun's coming up. But because it's America, and because some way, somehow things work out for us, a miraculous fog rolled in. It might as well have been the thick of night. Our guys get out. They run across Manhattan to fight another day and to organize for an epic battle, never to square off with the British again until they would win years later. And the question is, why does this keep happening? Why, when America should fail, when Washington gets burned to the ground, when the White House is on fire, when our 5'3" James Madison, our President of the United States, is sitting on a horse, watching the capital of the country burn to the ground, wondering if he had an army and if his wife was alive, why do we suddenly get off the mat again, find a way to have a standoff at the Battle of Baltimore, finish him off in the Battle of New Orleans, and survive the War of 1812? Because we're a special place. Trey, what people get wrong is they think America's perfect. I think what's great about America is that we try to be, not that we are, but that's the standard we try to live up to.
Yeah, I mean, you put your finger on it, Brian. In order to form a more perfect union, we are trying. We acknowledge that there is a perfect. We ain't there yet. Speaking of which, you mentioned some military difficulties that we've had. I mean, there were also like political battles early on. I mean, Jefferson and Adams didn't always get along with each other. Hamilton and Adams didn't get along with each other, but they found a way to work through that using a word that's almost a bad word now, which is compromise.
And I will just bring you to what George Washington said. They were trying to get Washington to run for a 3rd term. And Trumbull writes Washington. He says, listen, you got to run for a 3rd term. There's no one that could replace you. And I just found this is the exact quote. He said, the party lines are now so clearly drawn. In regard to truth or decency or attacking a person's character, if I was to run as a Federalist, I'm thoroughly convinced I would not draw a single vote from an anti-Federalist. Essentially saying the party system's beginning to dig in. I'm getting out of here while I can. But if George Washington couldn't rally the country after 8 years as our founding father, don't fault Trump or Obama or Bush for not being able to unify the country around them. Revel on the fact that Reagan was able to do that and win almost every state in doing it. We're a country built on friction, but somehow we have to remember the ultimate goal is to come up with a plan, a compromise plan. I would love to get to the point, Trey, where we compromise. You don't get everything, but when you're in the majority, you get a lot. And when you're a minority, you get something. This way it creates less hate and tension. That's the way that when we've worked in the past, that's been the story.
Yeah, you mentioned the Senate. I mean, every state wouldn't have 2 senators, but for a compromise. So, Brian Kilmeade, you honor our founding fathers by the time you have spent researching them and getting to know them, but then sharing all their great and maybe not so great qualities. I hope you have a fantastic July 4th, and thank you for taking time. You're one of the busiest guys in the whole business, so thank you for doing this.
Thanks so much, Trey. Now you go back to golfing and have a great 4th of July weekend.
You read my mind. Thank you, Brian Kilmeade.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.